Welcome to a special edition of Family and Life Update. Just yesterday in Italy, so yesterday here in the Philippines, there was a new consistory that made cardinals in the Vatican, and the Pope Francis appointed 16 new voting cardinals. There are 4 others who are non-voting, but for this video, let's just take a look at who these 16 new voting cardinals are, and we'll see exactly who they are, where they came from, and some facts that we've seen online about them. So in the special edition of Family and Life Update, please subscribe. And here we go. Let's take a look at all 16 cardinals who are now cardinals as of yesterday, and possibly any of them could be Pope in the future. Okay. Here we go. Let's start. The first up that we've seen is Archbishop Roche. Archbishop Roche is the prefect of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. And especially in the U.S., there's so much talk about the Latin Mass and all that stuff. But Cardinal Roche left no doubt as to the direction he wants to take with the leadership of the Congregation of Divine Worship and Discipline of the Sacraments. And he stands firmly with Pope Francis about the reform of the liturgy approved by the Second Vatican Council. We can affirm with certainty and with magisterial authority that the liturgical reform is irreversible. So that's Cardinal Roche. He's an English-born archbishop, and he is succeeding Cardinal Robert Sarah as the head of that congregation. Moving on to the next cardinal. It's Archbishop Lazzaro Heung-sik. He is now Korea's 4th cardinal. So in the history of the church, this is only Korea's 4th cardinal. We've heard that in Korea, the number of Catholics is really going up. Their evangelization is good, and it's a blessing for them to have cardinal. The 4th one will become the 4th Korean cardinal after Cardinal Stephen Kim Sao-wan, Cardinal Nicholas Chung Jin-suk, and Cardinal Andrew Yom Soo-jung. So he's from the Diocese of Daejeon, and he's been serving as prefect for the Congregation of the Clergy. So congratulations to Korea for their 4th cardinal. Up next is Bishop Fernando Vérgez from the Legionnaires, a Legionnaire of Christ. And he's the first Legionary of Christ to be named cardinal. And I think we'll see in the other cardinals that have been named, there are a lot of firsts as well. So welcome to the Cardinalate. He has been 50 years at the service of the Holy See. He has collaborated in different Vatican organizations over the past 50 years, including the Congregation for Religious Life. And he has also been responsible for the Holy See's Office of Internet and Telecommunications. So another member of the College of Cardinals. Next up is Archbishop Jean-Marc Aveline. He's a cardinal for the Mediterranean port city of Marseille in France. It's good news for the Church of France because there hasn't been that many cardinals over the past years from France, or at least cardinal electors. So it's good to see another cardinal elector from the country of France. So welcome. Another one is Bishop Peter Ebere Okpaleke of Ekwulobia, Nigeria. So it's good to see that the Church of Africa is getting more cardinals. He was born in 1963, and Pope Benedict XVI was the one who consecrated Father Okpaleke as bishop, and he's appointed to head the Diocese of Ahiara. Okay, but there were tribal tensions. Now, why was he rejected? According to some news articles, it's because they demanded a bishop from their own diocese and from the local Mabaise ethnic group. And in 2020, the Holy Father created the Diocese of Ekwulobia, and he made the he made Bishop Okpaleke the bishop there. So there are even some things that happen on the ground that need things to be sorted out so that our bishops can also serve. Next up is Father Leonardo Steiner, OFM. He's the Secretary General of the National Confederation of Bishops of Brazil and the Archbishop of Manaus and Auxiliary Bishop of Brasilia, which is the nation's capital. He has publicly supported homosexual civil unions. So it's very interesting for this Archbishop to be made a cardinal. I'm just reading it off LifeSite News, and it's a big concern. So we should really take a look at this appointment and take a closer look at this new cardinal. The next one up is after 465 years, Goa receives its first cardinal. So Archbishop Filipe Neri Ferrão, he is described as known and very accessible to the people of God. He's the first archbishop in the history of the Archdiocese of Goa and Damão to be elevated to the rank of cardinal. So I told you earlier on this, I guess you could say it's a podcast, that there are many firsts. So here's the first cardinal of Goa. And it's very interesting because Goa is one of the most, it's the staunchest or the biggest, the most active, maybe. Active meaning there are so many Catholics in Goa. And it's very interesting that this is the first time that that diocese has a cardinal. It was created in 1557, and it's the home from where the Christian faith radiated in India and more widely on the Asian continent. So it is very good that finally they have their cardinal. It's also where St. Francis Xavier disembarked, and his remains are actually still there. So congratulations, Goa, on your cardinal. The next one, Bishop McElroy of the U.S., another very controversial appointment. There was this whole thing about in the U.S. with one bishop, I think they're both in California, one bishop who really supported the family and was very pro-life, and McElroy took the opposing stance. I think this is about the speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and her views on abortion. So one bishop refused to give her communion, and Bishop McElroy took the other side of that argument, and now Bishop McElroy is a cardinal. So it's very interesting that there's that this bishop, this cardinal, has that kind of reputation and history. So another cardinal that we should take a look at and we should monitor and be vigilant about. The next one is Virgilio de Carmo da Silva from the Archdiocese of Dili. So he was appointed as Bishop of Dili in January 2016, and he's going to be the first cardinal from East Timor. Another first. So I think this is the third first that we've talked about at this podcast. And East Timor is the second Catholic country in Asia, the first, of course, being Philippines. So it's very good to see that they have their own cardinal now as well. The next one is the Bishop of Como. He's Bishop Oscar Cantoni. He's been Bishop of Como in Italy since 2016. He was previously Bishop of Crema from 2005 to 2016. And now he is a cardinal. So welcome, another Bishop of Italy. Usually there are a lot of bishops from Italy because that's where the Vatican is located. So almost no Italian or European diocese has seen such a high number of martyrs, blessed and saints in the last 30 years. So this bishop, Cardinal Cantoni, is an Italian in red for the martyred diocese. So this is very, very interesting about the history of his diocese. Usually his diocese, Como, is not known as a cardinal see, and we've seen that many times from Pope Francis. He doesn't really look at the history of the different places where there are cardinals, and he sometimes chooses new dioceses and makes the bishop there cardinal. The next one is Anthony Pula, Bishop Anthony Pula, now India's first Dalit cardinal. So it's Hyper Abad's Archbishop Anthony Pula. He's now a cardinal, and he's the first Dalit to assume the position. So he's not only the first Telugu person, again, but also the first Dalit to be elevated to the rank of cardinal. Now India has 6 cardinals. He's also the first cardinal who speaks Telugu, a language spoken by more than 75 million people in India, especially in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He will represent one of the poorest regions of the subcontinent. He's known as a very simple and hardworking prelate. So very interesting about this new cardinal. He's quote-unquote part of the Dalit class, so he's quote-unquote untouchable. So it's another gesture towards the most marginalized peripheries. The next cardinal that we see is the Metropolitan Archbishop of Brasilia, Bishop Paulo Cesar Costa. So he's been the Archbishop of Brasilia since December 2020, and now he's a cardinal. So he's from Brazil. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil. Next one is His Eminence Richard Kuya Baobor. He's the Bishop of Wa, and now he's also the head of the Roman Catholic Church in Africa. So his election came at the end of the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar, which was held in Accra. He is the Cardinal of Ghana. He actually missed the August 27 consistory, the one yesterday, because of some heart problems. Pope Francis said, "Let us pray for his brother, who ought to have been here, but who is hospitalized." He's one of the 2 newly created cardinals from Africa, along with Cardinal Okpaleke of the Catholic Diocese of Ekwulobia in Nigeria. Now, another first, Singapore's first cardinal. He used to be a banker, actually. A banker turned priest. He's the only second native Singaporean to head its only diocese. And now he will be the island state's first cardinal. So Singapore received Catholicism in the 16th century from Portuguese. And now, 200 years later, they will have their first cardinal in the person of its current Archbishop, William Goseng Chie. He used to be a banker, and he became a priest, and now he's a cardinal. He is a bishop committed to interfaith dialogue. And another first yet again, Paraguay will have its first cardinal, Cardinal Adalberto Martinez Flores. So it's very interesting that there's so many countries in the world who have never had a cardinal. And I was thinking a few episodes back how the Philippines usually only has 3, considering there are millions of Catholics here. But looking around the world, there are many countries who have never had a cardinal. So there was never a chance for them to have a pope, for one of their bishops, one of their cardinals to become pope. So Paraguay is another first to have a cardinal. He's a 71-year-old bishop, and he's on his 5th diocese. He became a priest as a late vocation. So he was focused on commerce, economics, and then English and philosophy, and then eventually became a priest, and then a bishop, and now cardinal. So interesting to see the backgrounds of some cardinals in banking, finance. So maybe that's also some considerations were made in choosing them, as we've seen by many issues with the Vatican Bank. And the last one who was made cardinal, the youngest new cardinal of the church, is the bishop in Mongolia. Originally from northern Italy's Piedmont region, Bishop Giorgio Marengo has spent the past 19 years in Mongolia. almost 20 years. And now he is the world's youngest cardinal at 47 years old. We're the same age, and now he's a cardinal of the church. That's very interesting and very exciting. And he has been an exorcist for more than 20 years. He speaks about the importance of prayer, Marian devotion, respect for liturgical norms, and Eucharistic adoration. In Mongolia, he said, everything is changing after the spread of adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. It's so good to see him as one of the new cardinals of the Catholic Church. So let us continue to pray for our new cardinals. We don't know what's in store the next few months, years, but eventually, when it's time to pick a new pope, these 16 will be casting their votes for the new pope, and hopefully their history and their experiences in their diocese and in their lives will be able to choose a good one as we move forward with our Catholic faith in the Catholic Church. So thank you for joining us in this special episode of Family and Life Update, and we'll see you again this Friday. God bless you all.